Welcome back, Wolfpack fans. I'm Marcy Bullock, your host for Engineering Pack Pod, and today I have Will Kirschenman. Wait, should I be saying Dr. Kirschenman? Because I know you defended.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
High-fiving it because we
Appreciate it.
met when Will was not a doctor. He was not as formal. He was just a student here at NC State, chilling out, getting his PhD in organizational research. And he's also served 16 years in the U.S. Army. You've done so many interesting things, and you've already lined up your next gig. Like, you just got your PhD, and you're moving out to Monterey, California.
Yes. Yeah, I was fortunate. My PhD was funded by the Army, so I've got to go on and do another Army job after this. Thankfully, I was able to stay in academia, so I'll be joining the faculty in the Operations Research Department at the Naval Postgraduate School. So really excited to continue doing research and teaching.
Congratulations. So today, Dr. Kirschenman, I'll say Will, just because, I know you got to remember the little people when you get your PhD. You're going to talk about your research that you've done. You're going to talk about Agentic AI. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Wow. So this is new to me, and I'm going to tell Will and our listeners, I am not an engineer, so I kind of want you to explain it like you would explain it to a person who does not have as much education as you do. But before you get into the research that you've done and how all of this AI is going to impact our lives, tell a little bit more about you. I mean, you're a dad, you're a husband, you love fitness. Just give me the down low, the things I didn't say.
Yeah, so I've been in the Army for about 16 years now. I'm an operations research analyst for the Army. I was originally an engineer, so I spent about 8 years as an engineer, and then realized that I really enjoy math. I was a mechanical engineering undergrad, really enjoyed that, but the math part really stuck out to me. So I started getting into operations research, and thankfully there's a career path in the Army where you can do this full time.
And let me just say, for people that might not know, what is operations research?
The way I try to explain it to people is we introduce mathematical models to help decision makers make hard decisions. So that's
mathematical models to make decision makers make better decisions.
Yes, help them make better decisions.
Because I know my son-in-law also used mathematical models because he's an actuary. And so that's like a different way to use mathematical modeling. So you were the kid who loved math. And did you know you'd do this when you grew up or go into the Army? What happened?
When I was younger, I liked building things. I liked taking things apart, putting them back together. And then I was just generally pretty good at math. So trying to find something that was math related, that was my main thing. And then I had a job in the Army where I was deployed, and my primary job was we were downsizing on a certain base, and we were trying to move things around and cut costs. So a lot of what I did was I would put together some sort of construction package to cut costs. So that was my first introduction to helping decision makers make decisions related to finances to help accomplish the mission. So it was cool seeing how I could use math to do that, and that's what piqued my interest even more.
I love that. And I think I interrupted a little bit because you were telling your story. So go back to coming to NC State and what you have finished your dissertation on.
Yes. Yeah, so I came to NC State in 2023, and within the Operations Research Program, we've got a great military research group that really helps foster ideas. So I was able to take an idea that I had previous to coming here. I worked on building and facilitating futuristic war games. And, one big thing that was included in that is every time, so if you imagine the Normandy invasion, those are types of things we don't want to do, but we may have to plan to do in the future. So that's a very complex operation. I was interested in optimization, so I was thinking, based on today's algorithms and computer hardware, how would we do this today? So that kind of fueled my research and what I ended up doing here.
That's so interesting. Wow. And now what kind of goal are you pursuing in your career path? Because you already have the job lined up.
Yeah. I've realized I really enjoy the research process. I've enjoyed help out other students while I've been here through peer mentorship. So I'm really excited that I have the opportunity to extend this into academia as I go to the Naval Postgraduate School. I'm not sure what kind of job I'll take after that, but really enjoying this and the things I've learned here to help contribute to the Army and the Department of Defense. So.
You're going to be a wonderful professor. I remember when we first met, you came to a student panel as a
Yeah.
graduate student, and we talked a little bit about time management. And
Yes.
that was really wonderful. And just seeing you in front of a group, and I know you said you've never really been recorded for a podcast before.
Yeah.
So, welcome to the bright lights and the excitement. But that is so exciting. You're going to enrich so many young people. So, today, this is one of the topics that you got nominated to speak on because I think your advisor said, oh, you have to talk to Will because he is an expert on all things AI. And of course, everybody's talking about this and it's changing so fast, it's hard to keep up. Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, help the listener understand all these things.
Absolutely. So I think when a lot of people hear the words Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini, they're usually referring to the chatbot or maybe an app where you can communicate with a large language model. That's the key thing that these chatbots bring. Before 2022, we had these large language models, but there was no way for normal people to access them. So that's what ChatGPT brought about. You can send a message or a prompt and actually get the large language model to do something for you and give you a response. So that was the first key step. I think that's what opened up a lot of people's eyes about AI and what it could do for the masses. And then just since ChatGPT launched, there's so much more capability has grown on top of that. So the biggest thing is that these chatbots have allowed us to interface with the large language model, and then you can think of some of the possibilities that could extend from that.
Okay, the large language model. So I'm going to double click on a couple of things
Yes.
because different generations,
Yeah.
right? I am a different generation than you are. And when we were warming up, I was telling you about my days at the VA hospital and how there was no computer and I walked in
Yeah.
with a clipboard and I used a pen and paper. So speak a little bit to what that means.
Yeah. So with the rise of computer hardware, especially in the past maybe 2 decades or so, there's a lot of different types of tasks that have become much more accessible. So the big one is deep learning and deep learning types of models. So around 10 years ago, the big way we're using these deep learning models and the advanced computer hardware was with computer vision. So if you think about when Tesla first came out with its autopilot mode, and now it's got its full self-driving mode. So that was a big part of the research at that time. And at that time, transformers started to be a bigger deal. So getting into natural language processing, being able to take an input and predict the output as far as text, what comes next based on the prompt. So that's where the natural language processing type of models started really picking up with increases in computer hardware even since then. And we've got these large models that are just very good at inferring based off of natural text, generating information, very useful information for us from that. So that's kind of where it's gone, and it's really due to the computer hardware we have now and the different types of algorithms we have to train them.
So you can go to your phone and you can type in your whatever you're using. I mean, I'll give an example. I'm going on a vacation to Santa Fe, New Mexico. Where should I eat? I love this kind of food. I love outdoor activities. Tell me some amazing things to do. And my chatbot gives me incredible ideas.
Yeah.
And then I can say, no, I want a little Italian food, not just Mediterranean. So, how is that different than Claude? Because I have not touched that one yet.
Oh yeah. So we've got ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. These are all a family of models that come from frontier AI companies. So OpenAI makes ChatGPT, Anthropic produces the Claude models, and then Google produces the Gemini models. So at the end of the day, if you're using it as a chatbot, the capabilities are very similar. They're trained in similar ways. If you're using it for different types of search or planning types of things or writing, they're going to perform very similarly. However, when you get into the more nuanced skills of each model, you may see some differences where one is a little bit stronger than the other. But if you're using it as a basic chatbot, the functionality you want to get out of it, it will be pretty similar across all the different models.
But not the Claude model. That's different, or that's the part that I'm trying to understand. That's
Yeah, yeah.
agenic.
Yeah, so the agentic part of this is so first the chatbots came out around 2022. Every company started building their own, started competing. The next thing that kind of happened with it was agentic AI. So if you think about a chatbot, chatbots are very useful. I can open my browser, I can open my app, ask a question. It's got some basic tools that I can use like web search to find out what restaurants are good and when they're open. So that's very useful, but I have to come to the chatbots environment. So if I have a lot of context, maybe I have files that need to be referenced or uploaded, I have to do that, come to the chatbot and do it. With Agentic AI, there's more capability to bring the AI to you and where you work. So specifically with Claude Code, that's a tool that launched about a year ago now, and it allows you to bring the AI into your computer's terminal. So the biggest thing with that is I have my file system. I can have it access my file system based on certain permissions, and I can have it do actual useful work for me instead of me having to come to the AI chatbot. So there's a lot of possibilities that grow with that, especially if you can give it some access to your terminal. So everything that your computer can do, potentially you can have the AI help do for you. So it just unlocks a lot of possibilities.
Okay, I'm already like, that's wild.
Yeah.
So you're letting it into your computer. And
Yes.
this is the part that I want to rewind and say, that sounds scary. And how did you build trust in that? And other PhDs who are listening to this, I think there's some fear around that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was tracking all these advancements and I was tracking when Claude Code came out. And as soon as it went to the subscription tier, I started using it. So I'm a pretty skeptical person in general. So I will, just as I would with a person, I start building trust. So the most natural way to start with these things is I could open Claude Code in maybe a research project folder on my computer, or maybe one of the courses I'm taking. I open it there and just asking it basic questions like I would a chatbot. So what is in this folder structure? What is this about? And then you'll be kind of shocked at what level of information it can pull, because it can do a file search and see what's in there and kind of summarize and categorize. So then you start building on that. So, well, here, can you summarize this part? Can you take this piece of code and refine it to do this? And for me, I've been able to expand my trust by slowly giving it more complex tasks to do. And that's what I would recommend to anyone who's skeptical about these tools. Just start small and start to build your trust, as with you would do with a human, person.
This is wild. I'm sorry, I got to just stop and go, what's going on? So this is saving you so much time. Is it actually coding for you? So it's going to remove people that used to be in that job before?
I'm not sure if I'd say it'll remove jobs. So a lot of people who have been using these agentic tools, that was the worry at first. But I think what it does is it expands a lot of capabilities. So first, it speeds up the process and the amount of things you can do. And then a lot of people will say there might have been projects or ideas that were on the shelf. They're too tough to get into, too complex to plan out and execute. And a lot of those are much easier to start. So you can have an AI agent. Maybe you're not having it edit a bunch of code and stuff like that, but you can at least have it investigate and build a plan. And then you can look at that plan and kind of verify, oh, this looks really good. Or you can iterate on it as well. So I think the big thing is that it really speeds up the kind of work you can do.
Well, for sure. I know. I was talking to my husband. He oversees a big group of people, and he said, someone on my communications team gave me this article. I really didn't like it. I put it into Gemini, and I think he has the whatever the higher level is that you pay for. I haven't paid for any of this, and it came out with this thing, and then I gave it back to my communications team, and I was like, hey, can you now as a human kind of massage this? But it basically did the work that person didn't do well.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's amazing, and it's not just coding. It can be a variety of things, and we may get more into it. But I use it for a lot of my planning and organization as well.
Okay, before we get into planning, so you have kids. What are their
Yes,
ages?
they are 4, 8, and 10 years old now.
Okay, 4, 8, and 10. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's wild. You got a lot going on. So let's just take the 10-year-old.
Yes.
Okay, what grade?
He's in 4th grade.
Okay, that's perfect. I was going
Yeah.
to say 5th grade. So let's imagine he's 11. Let's give him one more year. How would you explain this to him? And how do you think this is going to impact his life? Is he going to use it as a 5th grader?
So I've recognized the potential in these types of tools. So I actually try to get my 8-year-old, my 10-year-old into trying to use these tools and just understand the capabilities. So my 10-year-old, as a lot of 10-year-olds might be, likes to play video games, especially, for example, Roblox on the iPad. So he's into these things. I've also taught him a little bit of like basic JavaScript,
Mhm.
how to build web apps, and he's into that kind of stuff. So I've tried to get
Wait,
him
your 10-year-old knows how to build a web app with Java?
JavaScript. Yeah, he's
JavaScript.
yeah.
Okay, wow. Well, having you as a dad, that's amazing.
Yeah, but I'll have him, try to communicate with the AI, whether it's Claude Code or right now I use OpenAI's Codex. There's a lot of similar tools, but a lot of it's just through natural language, expressing what you want the model to do. So maybe I want to build a certain game. I've tried to teach my kids try to explain what's in your head. What are your concepts? What's your intent with what you're trying to build? The model is very smart, but it can't read your mind. So the more information you can give it, kind of the steps, give it a blurry picture of what you want. These models are very capable to give you what you're looking for. Yeah.
Okay, so this is happening now with kids that are in elementary school. And then, well, you're an expert on this. What's your prediction with the crystal ball by the time your kids are in college?
Yeah, I think these types of capabilities are just going to get more and more integrated into everything we do. I'm not sure exactly what that's going to look like, especially in things like academia, because we kind of need to balance how well a person is learning something versus what may be trivial and can be automated by AI. So I think it's just going to get more and more integrated in what we do, and I think we'll have to be careful on how that integration happens in certain areas. So,
Okay, so we have to go into this one, AI
yes.
going wrong. I have an embarrassing story, and this is a true story. So everybody was doing this thing on LinkedIn where they were like, make a caricature of me. Here's all the things I love to do. I have a Shetland sheepdog. I have two grandkids. I'm a professional development director. So I put all my stuff in. I was like, I got to get on this bandwagon. I'm director of professional development. I have to know what people are doing. So I sent in a picture of me, which maybe that's scary too, because who knows what's going to happen to that. Then I sent in a picture of my dog and my two grandson, and I said, make this picture. Well, I looked at it really quick and I put it in a newsletter. And well, it had me with three arms.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not making this up. And someone out of 1,000 people that read the newsletter saw it. Everybody else looked at it really quick and they were like, oh, isn't that cute? Marcy with two kids and a Shetland sheepdog. So, what about AI going wrong?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think these AI models have made advancements in different areas. So the image models, the image or the video generation models, like Google has a music generation model, which is pretty interesting. These are getting better over time. They're definitely not, perfect where they're indistinguishable between a real picture and AI generated one. So for different modes of data, they're not as great. I think my biggest story, and probably everyone can relate to it, about a year ago, if I had one of these models try to do a literature review, and just to test it out, do a literature review, give me back my resources and the citations. I'd look at the citations, and about half of them would have been hallucinated or made up. So the authors might be real authors who maybe never collaborated, and then the title of the article may not exist, but it's very close to what those two authors researched. So I think everyone has a similar story to that. I will say the AI models are getting a lot better at these types of hallucinations. And then when you get into agentic AI, there are additional steps you can add on to that. So like when I use agentic AI and doing a literature review, first of all, they're a lot better. They're maybe closer to 90, 95% accuracy. But I'll just do a second pass. I'll have an agent do a second pass to verify. I'll tell it where to pull information to verify, the article numbers and the sources and everything. And for the most part, everything's accurate, especially after I do a verification pass with these things. So, again, the models are getting better and better at certain things, really good at other things. I think over time, it's just going to continue that way.
And this has to be a part where we say, what advice do you give people? Because I know some students that don't want to use it and
Yeah,
they don't want their brain to rot. And I know some students that are using it all the time, but are they using it ethically?
absolutely. So I think the biggest piece of advice I give to people, if your only experience with AI is a chatbot, there is a different world out there that can.
Which is me.
Oh yeah,
I got to
we're
get in the Agentic age.
yeah, which really increases potential, and it's also based on your use case. If you don't need to use AI beyond searching, maybe writing, giving drafts of some kind of writing piece or things like that, you may not have a huge reason to really dive into the agentic AI. But especially if you're doing research, you're doing some kind of research project where research is tough. Usually research, it hasn't been done before. So you're going to have to iterate on it, make some mistakes and try things. So that's something that agentic AI is really good at. So first, researching and trying to build out a good plan. And then also, if you've got some sort of algorithm or something you can test, it's very good at doing the iterative testing itself and then coming back to you with results. So that's one of the biggest speed ups I've had. So I would say if you're interested in AI, haven't gone beyond a chatbot, it's worth just exploring some of the capabilities of agentic AI and what it could do for your specific workflow.
Fantastic. And will you also explain the ethical piece for students
Yes.
that are concerned about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are different ranges of autonomy I think you can give these agentic AI tools. So if you look in the news right now, there are software programmers who will spend in the course of a year or even a few months they'll spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on tokens, these AI tokens. So there's certain types of tasks that you can let go autonomously. They might be tedious, but you just care about the end result. And then especially in research, like for me, I'm not having these AI agents just go off and do work unsupervised. So the way I do it is I'm completely supervised on the process of what the AI agents are doing. I can see the steps it's taking. So I can see when it does a certain tool call, it searches for something. I can see the reasoning traces, and in Stride, I can guide the AI into different areas. And then also, when it completes its work, I have a good way of verifying. So I always verify the results. I don't accept anything just blindly. So iterating on a plan, iterating on the execution, and then verification of what the AI agent has done.
I'm glad you said that. So, two words that stuck out to me were iterating and verification.
Yes,
So, the human needs to be involved in this.
absolutely.
And then we were talking earlier about just a conversation. So, AI can't really help you with that. You have to do that as a human being.
Exactly, exactly. So we still have, until everyone's staying at home and working from home, we're still going to have human interaction. So that's something we're going to have to obviously continue to do. And I can't think of a way that AI can kind of take over that. So there are definitely tasks that humans are going to have to continue doing and staying good at and proficient at.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the joy of being a human is connecting with other people and getting hugs and hearing "I love you" and all the emotions,
Yes,
right? So
absolutely.
that's coming from someone that is a very empathetic counseling background. So
Yes.
it's great talking to an engineer about this. So I want to circle back to something you said about planning and organizing because a
Yes.
lot of our listeners struggle with time management and
Yeah.
procrastination, even communicating with your advisor. Talk about how this has helped you in that arena.
Yeah, sure. Honestly, I would say this is probably the biggest thing I use agentic AI for. So, as a lot of other research students, whether masters or PhD, I had weekly research updates with my committee or my advisors. So, the way I worked with my planning is I would have what is essentially a task or to do list, and it was built on a weekly basis. So I would project out the next week what I need to do, and I would track all of this with Claude Code or Codex. So from that, I'd be able to have all my high level thoughts of what I need to do and kind of deadlines and things like that. And I could come to the agentic AI fresh and like, hey, what's hot today? What's hot this week? And it can give me a breakdown. And then from there, as I complete tasks, I would build out plans and findings documents for every task. And then I'd also have essentially session summary. So each session I have with the agent, I'll have a detailed session summary, essentially a diary that I can go back to, that the agent can go back to as well. So I think that the big thing that agentic AI brings is a sort of memory system, both short-term and long-term memory, which you don't really get in chatbots. Some of the chatbots have different memory features, but they're very shallow. So you can build a very extensive memory system where I can quickly re-engage and interact with my agent, and we can pick back up on a really complex task right away. So, and each meeting I have, I'll update this task list. So I'll have a new task list for the next week, and I'll incorporate what I did and didn't do from the last time. And I'll even have some longer term tasks or plans in there as well. But it's been very good at organizing and managing everything for me.
drop the mic on that one. It sounds like it changed your life.
It has. And
Because you were a student, you said 2022, right around the time you came in, you were learning all this, and now you're an
Yes.
expert on it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm an expert. I've been fortunate to be able to use these agentic tools as soon as they came out. So I have a
Right.
lot of experience with them,
Yeah.
I think. And it's been fascinating just following everything that's happened. And it's hard to predict what it's going to look like 6 months from now. So that's kind of the excitement in it. Just
Well, speaking of predicting, this is going to be my last question for you, and this is going to be the curveball. But if you've listened to Engineering Pack Pod, you might know it's coming. So it's your future self.
yes.
So it's Will Kirschenman of 20, let's see, 20, let's say 36,
Okay.
because we'll give ourselves a decade.
Yeah.
All right, so imagine your age. I mean, your kids are going to be, oh my goodness, like adults.
Yeah.
And what do you want to hear from your future self today? If that future self just popped out of the time machine and sat right next to us here in Hunt Library, about who you are becoming in that 10 years.
So I have a pretty curious spine. I like to explore things that whether I'm interested in them or not. If it's something new, I like to explore it. So I would tell myself to keep that explorative mind and just dig into things. If I hear rumors, I usually like to test it out if I have the capacity to do so. So I would say stay curious. I would tell myself that. I would tell my kids as well. Stay curious in everything you do, and it'll really help you understand and kind of break through the noise of what information is out there, so you can fully understand yourself.
Dr. Kirschenman, wonderful conversation. It flew by. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely, I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.